Hey, what's going on? This is Dr. Ben with another pre-Chiro episode to continue to build infrastructure for any prospective students out there considering this path by just sharing insights with the different people that I connect with. So tonight I have a chiropractic student who's right in the middle of the program. Hunter, thank you for taking time. This is like a little study break for you, I imagine.
Oh
Can
yeah.
you just share a little bit about who you were before chiropractic school, or just, your background, and also what attracted you to become a chiropractor?
Yeah, of course. So, I'm from Monterey Bay. Grew up in Sacramento. I did my undergrad at UC, CSUMB. I was in the athletic training program for 4 years. Worked in the athletic training room. Had 6 teams under my belt. Thought I was going to go down the ATPT path. After working for 4 years with athletes, I love athletes and I love as much as I can do with them, but I felt restricted. And my life was changed by a chiropractor, especially in high school. I broke my collarbone, dislocated 2 ribs during a match, and a chiropractor got me back and ready in the pool within about, I don't even know, like a month, which was actually kind of crazy for me. He
Mhm.
gave me back my passion. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go into ATPT, because I thought I was going to be able to give those athletes the ability to get back on the field. What was hard was to meet the athlete where they were and where their coach was. The coach was always about getting them back on the field as quick as possible, but I was more about how can I get you to full function without damaging you even more. After dealing with a lot of coaches, I decided to go check out Life West. They had their champion weekend, and that changed my life. They paid for it. It was kind of a crazy whole process of just come see what we're about. They didn't even tell us to go to the school. They just showed us who they were, and I
Mhm.
made my choice. And what do you know? A year later, after that, I hopped on in the summer quarter,
Mhm.
and it was full gear ahead. It was just felt right. The community, the people, the love behind chiropractic. I didn't really fully understand what chiropractic was. To be all honest, I was like, I'm gonna make a bunch of money. Chiropractors are loaded, like all this stuff. It was very materialistic. Until I got around my second quarter and I started diving into philosophy, and it's really what changed my perspective. So that's a little bit about me.
Mhm. Mhm. It's really interesting that you were taking the athletic trainer to physical therapy pathway, and here you are saying that it was the philosophy of chiropractic that really shifted your perspective on, or gave you a passion that you didn't know you might get from this profession. So, one thing I do want to touch on is that you said you started in the summer quarter. For any prospective students out there, it is good to know that students are able to enter into the chiropractic program year round. So you can start in the fall, spring, winter, or summer. And can you maybe just share a little bit about what that transition was like going into chiropractic school? Obviously, you already had real world experience working with athletes as an athletic trainer. But what was it like to jump back into a program like this one and move to Hayward?
Well, any transition is going to be rough. Everyone gets in their pattern, right? And your pattern just becomes your norm, and that just gets comfortable. And something that I took from chiropractic school is more of the aspect of when you're not comfortable, that's the biggest chance for growth. And with that, that's kind of like my motto every day is be a little bit uncomfortable and allow yourself to grow in different areas that you didn't even know was possible.
Mhm.
Um, that transition was difficult for me in the beginning because I always had to compete. It was always be the best athletic trainer, get recognized, get the higher teams, get the lead shifts. No one wants to be working that 9 p.m. shift or that
Mhm.
5 a.m. shift.
Mhm.
So I was always in competition. I had a nice philosophy or physiology and science background since I was a kinesiology major.
Mhm.
And going into that first quarter, it's very similar to anything you would experience in undergrad if you were a kinesiology major. With that, I was just diving into the books. I was nonstop studying. I was not focusing on necessarily. I was focusing on like our palpation classes and stuff like that, but was definitely like, for some reason in my head, I was like, this is a doctoral program. If I fail one class, I'm going to get kicked out of the program. And I had this weird little stigma that no one ever told me about. I don't know how I got this in my head.
Mhm.
Um, but believe it or not, that first quarter was the first time my whole academic career that I ever got a 4.0, which I was actually crazy shocked. Um, the transition from that point was more of recognizing where can I help, because the cool thing about chiropractic college is that we do accept everyone. There aren't enough chiropractors in the world, so willing to just take anyone from any aspect of life, any walk, is truly amazing. So it's being willing to share your knowledge. It's not a competition anymore as much as support your neighbor.
Mhm.
And that first quarter was rough. I had two friends, and it was always walking out of the test like, "Oh, like, what do you think this one was?" And we would start arguing about who got the higher grade. And at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so once that transition happened, I recognized close to the end of my first quarter that it's not about the grades, it's about the connection. And once
Mhm.
that clicked, that's kind of when chiropractic clicked, because that's what chiropractic is about. It's about connection, brain to periphery, brain to body.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
from there on, my connections with people at the school just grew. It wasn't competition anymore. It was all people in upper quarters trying to help us, and us trying to just help each other. We were all
Nice.
sinking, and if we all hold on to each other, we're gonna float.
Mhm.
Um, so the biggest thing that I took away from that first quarter was that we're all there to support each other. And I have quite a few friends who are in ATPT school or going down the medical route. And don't get me wrong, there's a place in the world for every single position. But I know that they're struggling because they can't rely on their friends when it comes down to like studying or even just taking tests.
Mhm.
Um, it comes down to a competition, who's better. And I lived my life on competition, and now it's so relaxing to be able to just go through school and just help each other, and know that we all are going to make our own dent in the world, and drop the pebble in the ocean, cause a ripple effect. So that was the
Mhm.
first quarter transition.
Amazing answer. I love that. So yeah, I mean, the credo of the school is to give, to love, to serve out of abundance without expectation of anything in return. And I think that that's such a different message than what you receive when you have taken the MCATs. You had to score higher than everybody else. You realize the people that are next to you in this really challenging program to get into have sacrificed so much in their life to get to where they're at, and they don't have a lot left beyond, I know how to get a good grade, I know where I'm going or what I'm going towards. But it's a lot different to be in a collaborative environment than a competitive environment. Can you now transition us into second quarter, when you discovered the philosophy of chiropractic, maybe on a deeper level than you had previously been aware of it, and what you've gravitated towards and how it's helped you make the most of your student experience?
Yeah. Um, so second quarter philosophy. Everyone in their first quarter kind of looks at philosophy kind of as like a joke class, and I kind of did too. It wasn't until the end of my first quarter, beginning of second quarter, when a student came up to me and said, "Read the Green Book, read the first chapter of the chiropractic textbook, or the freshman text," and he's like, "I promise you, you won't understand any of it." And I just looked at him, and I was just like, "It's like what?" And he's like, "Read it," and he's like, "Then your third quarter, read it again, and I promise you, by your fourth quarter, that freshman text will make sense." And I was just like, "Okay." So I did what he said, and it didn't necessarily make sense the first time I read it, but I was able to see some connections from the things I was learning in school. And it pushed me back to thinking about when chiropractic was created, or founded.
Mhm.
And they have the simplest of ideas. It's like an inductive versus deductive, which is, chiropractic versus everything else, basically. um, and it comes down to the concept of, let's look at things from a whole, and let's narrow in from there. Let's not like just look through a scope. And once I was able to step back and look at what chiropractic really is,
Mhm.
it wasn't at all what my own idea of chiropractic was. Everyone knows that if you cut yourself, you'll be able to create a scab and heal yourself, right? But I feel like a lot of people think that's the extent of what your body can do, on a dramatic level. They don't really think about how many things are firing at once to allow you to just move a finger. They aren't thinking about the different ideas behind illnesses and what your body's doing,
Mhm.
like just for example, like tuberculosis and stuff like that, your body is actually creating a wall, like to block off that invasive tissue, right? And
Mhm.
your body is thinking in that moment, how can I survive another minute to survive another day? And everyone always thinks of, I grew this disease because, my body isn't able to handle things, or I might have damaged it. But your body is doing everything it can in that moment to allow you to progress. And that's the whole point of adaptation. And
Mhm.
so once I was really able to look at the body as a whole and be like, every single person is a superhuman, and
Mhm.
why can't certain, you got DD's famous quote, you put two people in a room, why is one sick and one, not sick when they're doing the same exact thing every day?
Mhm.
And what it just comes down to is the connection from the brain to the rest of the body. And is there interference between brain and periphery? And as chiropractors, we aren't actually fixing anything, we're facilitating.
Mhm.
And once I was able to switch those words out, because a lot of the time people come up to you and say, "Hey, can you fix me?" And it's like, I can't fix you, but I can facilitate you to fix yourself. And
Mhm.
people just look at you like you're crazy. And it's one of the best feelings when they look at you and you start just dropping some philosophy and they're
Mhm.
just like, wait, like I knew my body could heal, but my body can really do everything you're saying. And I was like, yeah, your brain is one of the most powerful things in the world. Like everyone's brain is the most powerful thing in the world. Energy is never ending, right? And so we're limited by matter.
Mhm.
And what happens when we die? If you look at a corpse compared to someone who's living, it's the energy, right? We still have the same matter, the same material,
Mhm.
but where'd the energy go? And so it actually it awoke in me on a spiritual level. Chiropractic is a science. It's also a philosophy and an art. But if you understand what philosophy is, it's just the highest form of wisdom. It's the highest form of science. And once you dive into that idea of innate intelligence, you have universal intelligence leading down, and innate intelligence is the intelligence within the body that is connected with matter. And once you understand that innate intelligence is real, it's there. And it some people, it might take, seeing is believing. Some people don't have to see to believe, but it took a little bit of convincing for me to actually adapt to this idea of innate intelligence. And once I was able to actually understand it and be like, you know what, you're right, like I'm not thinking every second to pump my heart, I'm not thinking every second to heal this cut. How do reflexes work, like peripheral sense, all these different things. And I just realized that I have this inborn intelligence. Everyone does. It's like, how come I thought of a thought, but the person right next to me just thought of the same thought? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Yeah.
I experience that a lot at chiropractic college. We all have a very similar mindset, and it's really cool, but we also are so different.
Mhm.
And being able to connect on different energy levels and, just intelligent waves, I like to call them. Everyone brings something different to the table. And if
Mhm.
you are not fighting with yourself to be the best, you look at everyone around you, and it's okay to have weakness. It's okay to not understand everything because weakness allows you to grow.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily taking, but it's sharing. And once I learned philosophy, I was like, what can I used my chiropractic lens. It's a different way of scoping things throughout the world.
Mhm.
And you look at different people and you're like, wow, like you really know your neurology. Wow, you really know how to, the art behind chiropractic. And
Mhm.
you just start putting yourself in different situations.
Mhm.
And next thing you know, you start learning things, right? And once I really trusted innate intelligence and universal intelligence in chiropractic school, I'm not going to lie. Like, if for whoever's watching, if you're thinking about going, it's an intense program, but you have so much support. The crazy thing is you start doubting yourself because you're getting hit with so much information left and right
Mhm.
that basically, you're like, I'm not gonna be able to remember this. I don't understand this. And then next thing you know, you look at a piece of paper or someone brings up a topic and you just start flowing out a bunch of information. You're just like, I didn't even like, how did I even know that?
Mhm.
And it's understanding that your brain is so powerful that it can handle so many things, but it's also understanding that, everyone, like, I think of my brain as a USB drive that's bigger than, terabytes, bigger than anything, because I may not be able to access it right away, but if someone like hits me with a search word, boom, it pops right up.
Mm,
And
mm,
so, once you're put in situations that are so intense and so grueling at some points, it's just so impressive when you can just trust yourself. And that's a huge thing, is being able to just, trust that inborn intelligence within you, which isn't just relying on making your body work, but also allowing you to function throughout the day, allowing you to adapt to different stimuli around your body, allowing you just to adapt to, like, even the world we're living in right now.
mm,
COVID's causing a lot of depression, a lot of different things. I was on online school, or I still am online school, but I'm the type of learner that has to be in class. I have to look
mm,
at the teacher. I have to be present. If I'm in my room with with my dog sitting there and stuff like that, I get distracted. And I had to learn how to adapt. And chiropractic taught me how to adapt. So
mm.
that was that second quarter philosophy kind of kick into gear.
Hmm. Right on. So yeah, I mean, in this pre-Chiro podcast, we're hoping that every student that's listening to this is able to adapt better because they've been given an inner awareness that they need to move through this new terrain, this new environment that they're in more effectively. So what you describe as a philosophical construct for chiropractic, recognizing that the body will always appropriately adapt to its circumstances, that's an intelligence that stays with us throughout our lives, and that we need to trust in that and leverage that. That's really a different mindset, a different way of thinking clinically. So how have you been developing yourself into a chiropractor now that you have this mindset or this awareness? How will you work with people, or how have you begun working with people? I think I saw on a recent Instagram post that you had an observed adjustment, but obviously that's not like ongoing process. That's just an event, which is different, right? In non-therapeutic chiropractic, it's a process-oriented approach. It's not really you come in for an event, like more of a therapeutic approach. So how is this philosophy going to guide the way that you work with people moving into the future? And how is what you're doing right now today in chiropractic school helping you ready yourself for that?
Hmm. Well, a huge one. What I started doing is a huge tool that we say, at Life West, is, meeting the person where they're at, right? And everyone, when you're surrounded by chiropractic 24/7, 7 days a week, you start pushing chiropractic down everyone's throat in the beginning, And don't get me wrong, it's an accidental, accidental, like, regurgitation of just what you're passionate about. Um, I've found that, through being present and stillness and active listening. Active listening was a huge one. Meeting the person where they're at, right? So they come into your office, or they come to you, and like, "Oh, I've got pain here." I'm not going to automatically tell them, like, "No, that's not your pain. Your pain is that's a cause, right? We're looking for the effects." It's like, I'm gonna meet you where you're at. You've been in pain for 6 months, 7 years, whatever it is. We're gonna see what we can do, and we're gonna adjust and figure out eventually what the effect is, or what the cause is. But some people just want to come in, they'll call them pops. In the beginning, I got really, I was like, it's not a pop. Please don't tell me just to pop you. Um, and now it's also like, that's the only language they know. So it was a real transition for me, mentally, emotionally, and physically, to be able to just meet them where they're at, and to be able to maintain eye contact. That was a huge one, just being willing to show that you're actively listening. Because usually, if you're looking at someone in their eyes, like, you're not thinking about something else. Um, Along with that, we are in clinic a little earlier now, so I am adjusting right now with my cohort. And with that, it's very different to have someone on your table who is actually in pain, who is actually going through something, and you have the ability to try to facilitate their body to fix themselves.
Mhm.
And the thing is that chiropractic is not easy. It's not an easy, the art behind it is not easy. It takes hours and hours and hours of training. And I'll never forget, my first to second quarter, I went home and I probably, for those who are watching, we practice these things called strikes, and it's being able to practice chiropractic movement without having a body on the table. And that was a hard one, which I was actually, I pushed a good chunk of my friends to stop only practicing when they had people in their hands.
Mhm.
Um, and once they stopped doing that, their art just blew up, and it was really cool to be able to facilitate their growth along with my growth, because the student eventually turns into the teacher, but then the teacher eventually goes back to the basics. And I will never consider myself even close to perfect or finished, because it's constant. It's just like adapting, right? And
Mhm.
every person's different, so every adjustment's going to be different. Every way you approach the adjustment's going to be different. And another way of connecting with that patient is understanding that the adjustment doesn't start when they lay on your table. The adjustment starts right when they walk in the room, right when they see you, right? You
Mhm.
make that eye contact, give them a smile, give them a wave, whatever it is, make them
Mhm.
feel welcome.
Mhm.
Every little thing leading up to the point that you put hands on them will determine how either that adjustment will go, how they will hold that adjustment, and possibly how they will actually, let emotional traumas out.
Mhm.
It's one of the most beautiful things I've actually ever seen, is being able to deliver an adjustment where someone gets off my table and does have an emotional release. And through that emotional release, they get up, and some of them say they have flashbacks, from that car accident that happened, or from a trauma in their childhood that they suppressed so deep.
Mhm.
And it's really beautiful to be able to be there and like hold space for them in that moment and
Mhm.
lead up to that adjustment. That doesn't happen on the first adjustment. That happens, it happens after you've created the rapport with the patient, and you have basically it's basically unconditional love,
Mhm.
and it took me a little bit to recognize that point of um, treat everyone as if you were madly in love with them. That's kind of the way I approach my whole school. Is where I consider myself, like a new age hippie. I love giving hugs and stuff like that, but it's more of just showing support, because there isn't enough support in this world. Everyone's always, everyone's fighting, everyone's angry all the time, and it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to be angry all the time. Um,
Mhm.
Something that a really, really influential person in my life, taught me was, with when it comes to any emotion, you recognize it, you feel it, you really take it in, and you let it go. Because there's nothing more damaging to your body than harboring negative energy, right? Energy has to go somewhere, and if it's stuck in a wrong spot, it's going to harbor.
Mhm.
And if you understand the philosophy side of it, in chiropractic, we talk about dis-ease, so lack of harmony in the body, and a continuation of lack of harmony in the body. So dis-ease leads to disease. And as chiropractors, a lot of people are on the trajectory for disease, because they've harbored so many negative energy, or so much negative energy, through the inability to adapt to thoughts, traumas, and toxins. And
Mhm.
once you're able to kind of retrograde that projection to disease, is when you really start seeing a whole different person. And
Mhm.
like people who actually come in and they're just so grateful that they're not like separated from mind and body. Another amazing thing that I hear throughout the clinic is, just not just to me, but to every person in clinic, is thank you for not letting me feel pain in my own body.
Mhm.
It's crazy how many people walk through life every day and are in pain, and
Mhm.
it's really hard to, sometimes watch when people let pain rule their life, because when you're in pain, that's all you can think about, especially,
Mhm.
chronic pain.
Mhm.
So being willing to just meet them where they're at and try to put yourself in their boots, but also understand that you're just facilitating. You can
Mhm.
be there for them and meet them where they're at, when they're on your table and when they're in your office, but you're not there to take all their energy, right? You're just a
Yeah.
bridge. You have to let them release it, but you cannot take it. Um,
Mhm.
I used to be a massage therapist, deep tissue, and I will never forget the first massage I did. And I was in such pain. I took away their pain, but then I just took it all into myself. And
Mhm.
so it really comes with centering yourself before before the day, getting your strikes in, warming up. It's just like an athlete. You're not going to just go hit the court and go play, basketball without, doing a couple layups first. And
Mhm.
the goal too is, your first patient gets just as much care, 100% focus as your last patient. So
Mm.
you need to be at, full game, ready to play the whole day. And
Mhm.
that comes through practice, that comes through centering yourself, that comes through finding ways to connect to source, as in universal intelligence. And
Mhm.
just kind of like believing that there's a higher power, you have a bigger purpose, that everything's going to work out.
Mhm.
um, and through that acknowledgement, through that acceptance that, as long as I'm doing as much as I can to help the people around them, I'm going to be fine in life. And
Mhm.
even though it's super, super easy to be scared about, a test or failing a class, it's okay to fail a class. It just, it might come deeper into your future career. You might have failed that class because someone in your career or someone's going to come through your office that is going to have an issue that now you're going to know so much more information about because you had to take the class twice.
Mhm.
It kind of comes down to, you can look at things through a negative scope or a positive scope, and how are you going to apply that to your future? And I'm not gonna lie, like I've had some emotional breakdowns through this process because it's an intense process, but it's so beautiful because I used to harbor those feelings. Going through undergrad, you get stressed, you just keep getting stressed. You never let it out. And having people who can facilitate that for you, while you can facilitate for other people, is just, it's a connection that I have yet to find in any other profession. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, did that answer your questions?
Definitely, I think if I'm just going to reflect back some of what I heard from you just now, you were basically describing what a compassionate healer or that compassionate connection. So having empathy for people, putting yourself in their shoes, having positive expectations for the clinical outcomes. So no matter what somebody comes to see you with, you hear their story, but you don't necessarily take on that energy. You're coming from your own place of truth and your own clarity in what your clinical objectives are. And so you're not um, latching on to potentially a negative expectation that they have of what they're going through, but you are coming to them with a positive expectation, and that makes a huge difference clinically speaking. And then also, it seems to me like you've developed ability to meet people where they're at, which is huge because once people know how much you care, they can let down their guard and say, okay, I'm talking to a real person here. I'm talking to somebody who really cares about me and wants me to move forward based on where I'm at. They're not just going to throw their prescription on me or their diagnosis on me and not teach me how to move forward. So it's not just looking at the effects of what somebody's going through, but also looking at what you understand to be the causes of those effects. And so these are all like baseline fundamental principles for healers, doctors, facilitators who get great results, who build a practice that attracts referrals without really having to try very hard. It's an organic practice that just grows over time. And so I appreciate you really touching on some of the main focal points of how to build yourself into a chiropractor. And it's really beautiful how you described it. I think that um, anybody who's able to really sit there and take that in is going to come away with some really important clarity on the things that they need to work on, the things that they need to put themselves in the position to experience for themselves. And my recommendation is if you want to experience things like Hunter just described, then go to a local office that you vetted properly and get some exquisite care from a chiropractor that cares and knows what they're doing and can deliver everything that Hunter just described. So I just want to thank you for sharing with any prospective students out there. There was a lot of depth to what you just described. And can you just leave us with some final messages on that student who's really still trying to understand whether this path is the right path for them? Maybe they're athletic trainers, maybe speak directly to athletic trainers because you were there once, or speak directly to massage therapists because you were once a massage therapist. and describe to them a little bit on, why chiropractic is something they should strongly consider, and why.
Well, with either one of those practices, chiropractic has so many different avenues that you can take, so you're not restricted. I found a lot of restriction in athletic training or even physical therapy. Um, this is the time to become a chiropractor, period. If you wanted to be a physical therapist, that time was 25 years ago. We have I know tons of amazing physical therapists, but they're going to be around for a while and it's really hard to compete.
Mhm.
And besides just even competing, it shouldn't be about competition, right? And that's what chiropractic is. It's about everyone working together. I'm going to know other chiropractors that I'm going to refer people to because their technique is what that particular patient needs, not my technique, and or not the different types of technique that I provide. It's all about sharing, right? And they're going to send patients to me, and so on and so forth. But when it comes down to it, I just wanted to help as many people as I could. I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could. And I've found that through chiropractic, you don't have restriction with helping as many people as you can. You can have a $1 million practice. You can have $100,000 practice. If you're looking at money, you can see 90 people a day. You could see 500 people a day. Depends on what you want. And it really does come down to you get to be your own boss and you get to change the world with how you see it. You are restricted by certain state guidelines, but find a state that you value. Find a state that you actually see eye to eye with what they're saying, and go change the world. Because
Mhm.
I could not I could not help as many people as I already have. Just being an athletic trainer, I could not help. Giving someone a massage is amazing. Don't get me wrong, like people need them. But you know, you're facilitating a different type of medicine, and to be able to facilitate proper neurological function is just tremendous. And if you really just want to help as many people as you can, but still have a life, which
Mhm.
was a huge thing for me. I want a family. I want a life. I want to be able to bring my kids to my office. I want to be able to, work 4 days a week, screw it, even 3 days a week, depends on whatever I want. You
Mhm.
can't really do that with the other ones, and still support a family. I tried doing the whole massage therapy and living off of that, and it was extremely difficult.
Mhm.
AT, PT, all my bosses were there from 5 in the morning until almost 9 at night, 5 days a week.
Mhm.
Didn't get summers off, didn't get anything. They're not seeing their kids and always talking about it.
Mhm.
I didn't want my kid to grow up without a father. I don't want to be away from my wife, and I want to help as many people as I can. So
Mhm.
chiropractic is an amazing route. If you're not sure, check out Life West. We have a beautiful Champions Weekend. It is online, and you don't have to move. So just check it out.
No doubt. Well, I want to appreciate your energy tonight. Thank you so much. And you heard the guy. I mean, there's flexibility in this path, and you can create the life that you love. Lead the life that you can envision for yourself. The possibilities are endless. Right now, I'm working 2.5 days a week, and I was also a massage therapist before school. And after like a year and a half of doing massage, I was tired. It was a lot on my body, and chiropractic is a lot on your body, no doubt. But you're seeing a lot more people. You're making a lot more waves rippling through the society, and it's fun. It's good times. It's a positive, uplifting environment. So anyway, Hunter, I invite you to come check me out in Oakland if you ever want to come observe, and,
Definitely.
and come just tap into what I'm doing. But for tonight, this has been a pre-Cairo discussion, and you've delivered to the prospective students a lot of different perspective that they can chew on and explore for themselves. There's a lot to be digested with this interview. So without further ado, I'm gonna leave it at that. Appreciate you for taking the time, and good luck on your finals tomorrow. So
Thank
sure
you.
you do fine. But yeah,
Appreciate it.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.
Definitely.